memory of those whose pain was too deep. We gather here our promises to keep, a safe space where sport will always thrive. No judgments here, only love will survive. Those we've lost, their absence we mourn. Miss they are, their memory we hold dear. Together we stand, breaking stigma's chains, the media's influence we shall not allow. In this safe space, we rise above the disavowed, a united front, a society that cares, supporting one another, bearing our shares. Let kindness guide our thoughts and deeds, nurturing compassion like blossoming seeds. We vow to fight to make their struggle a world where empathy reigns every single day. Whoa, that gets me all the time. But welcome to the safe space between us. I'm your host, Kieran, and we've got a lovely co-host and team with us today. Not Kari Lee, Kari PA, and Patricia. Trying to keep a smile after watching that intro. Firstly, I apologise if it was a bit long, but I think there's a lot of lovely people who are sadly no longer here, and I hope you've got to hear the poem. My poem on my ears crackled a bit. I don't know about your end. But anyway, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's just check in on the team, see how everyone is. Not Kari. Lee. How are you today? How are your week been? Sorry, again, thank you so much for carrying the flag with the other two ladies. But how are you been?
Yeah, not too bad. We're on the last 3 weeks of the terms. It's very stressful and everything's winding down and deadlines and stuff. So work's a bit hectic, but other than that, things are going okay.
Family well?
Yeah, family's all good. Just the norm, really.
Wicked. Patricia, how are you?
Tired.
Silly question. I know how you are, but yeah, how are you?
I'm tired. It's been a week from hell, but taking a day at a time. I'm moving forward.
Good. We'll just look forward. And we send our love to you and what's going on. Kari, again, Patricia and Kari, again, thank you for carrying the flag with Lee. And Kari, I owe you a massive apology because I've made you cancel a lot this week due to my ongoings. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I've had a busy week, really. There's a lot of
Tell the truth.
Holidays and stuff at work, so I feel absolutely drained today. But it's Friday, so it's obviously that's a good thing. So
yeah. So you're a bit upset that you had to do some work this week, basically.
I do work.
I'm joking. No, but apart from that, no. Thank you again, all three of you, for everything you've done this week and keeping the page and keeping a safe space and keeping the movement and breaking the stigma and breaking the silence going. So thank you so much. So on today's episode of podcast, we've got a few things to discuss. So obviously, unfortunately, there's been another suicide in my area, and a lot of people know this gentleman, Jamie. So our condolences and love go to him and his family out there, and friends, and obviously everyone who's sadly no longer here. So that brings us to the first topic of suicide, men's suicide, how we can make a difference and how we can make a change. So obviously I've done a bit of research over the last couple of days, and I say obviously, but as the team know, we've all done some research over the last couple of days, and the stats and figures are quite disgusting, and these are the stats they do show. So obviously I believe, conspiracy theory or not, there is more to add to these figures, I believe. But before we go through stats and figures, let's just go around the table, around the room, and anyone feel comment. I know we've discussed it before, but let's have a proper conversation, proper chat about it. The suicide around nationally, your area, where you guys are, globally, why is it not just men, but why is it happening so much? Who wants to start?
I just think it's people just feel like there's nowhere else to turn to. So I think it's just it just feels it's the only option out, because people just feel like there's no other route. So because it is all this stigma, as we said before.
Yeah.
Reach out for help. You seem as weak and all that, so you seem stronger to deal with it by yourself, and then that can cause you deeper down the rabbit hole till you feel like you're trapped and there's no other route out. Really.
No, yeah, I hear that. Kari, what's your views?
To be honest, I think it's a mixture, obviously, what Lisa said, and also the fact that I think everything just seems so busy nowadays. Like, we've always got to be doing something, or we've always got to be thinking of something, and there's so much in the media, isn't there? And things are always going wrong, and there's, and obviously cost of living, all of those sorts of things, which obviously is more now than obviously, the last few years or whatever. But we've had a pandemic, we've had all these different things. But even with that aside, I think just generally, I think there's a lot of expectations on people out there through jobs, things that they've got to do on a daily basis, providing for their families, all of that sort of stuff. So I do feel that everybody's just rushing around everywhere, and you just get to a point where you kind of hit a wall. And then obviously that if you haven't got the help there, or you haven't got people that you can talk to, then that wall kind of becomes a slope, doesn't it? Where you just go further and further down into it. And like you said, you don't feel like there's any way out. And if you haven't got a support system, a good support system, then what do you do? So, it's like you say, getting that help, isn't it? And finding the right people to help you. Because even if you get help, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right help. Because everyone's an individual and everything's different. And the stuff that you're suffering with isn't a bog standard thing, is it? That fits all. It's not the size fits all. It's unique to you. And I think that's where a lot of the problem is. They all follow the rule book, and rather than taking each individual case.
Before I come to you, Patricia, I just wanted to quickly add to what Kari said. You're right. So, if, for example, I could be sitting here suffering, upset about I can't afford a loaf of bread tomorrow. Let's say that. You could be sitting there worried about being abused. For example, Lee could be sitting there worried about not having a job, and Patricia could be worried about because someone in her family is ill. Yeah. And so for us all, and the world and society, I think we look at it and thinking, because we ain't going through that at that moment. So, for example, yous might be able to afford that loaf of bread. Say I can't. Let's just say I can't. Right? Yous might be able to afford it, but society and the stigma out there will think, well, it's that easy. Just go and get a loaf of bread, or get off your ass and make a penny to get a loaf of bread. When to me, it could be killing me. So what I'm trying to say, because I'm beating around the bush probably, is we all suffer in our own way, and it's just being about respectful and being kind, of respecting people's feelings and how they see what's hurting, and we might not see it. Is clearly eating them away. That's just to add to your point, Kari. Patricia,
sorry, I was going to say, like you say about the not having enough money for bread and stuff like that. Like, that is quite traumatic to think. You're there as an adult or whatever age you are, thinking, I can't even afford to go. It's the embarrassment and the shame, the fact that you aren't able to provide for your family and stuff like that. It's not just about that loaf of bread, is it? It's the whole thing around it. And that's like what people don't really understand, isn't it? They just think, well, that's easy. Just go and get one. It's like £1 or whatever, But
what's the few shop at £1? It's not £2.50 in my local shop now, Jesus. I remember that it was 40p. What shop you go to, Pan? I'm coming to you.
I think you get one for about £1.25. I think it's the toasty ones or something, the little ones.
With the free slices. Oh no, but it's crazy. But Patricia, what's your views on this topic?
I agree with all of you, but I also think that part of it is society and the way the society is these days. Because 20, 30 years ago, right, you didn't need to say to your neighbor, I got a mental health issue, what have you, right? But neighbors knew neighbors. You could talk to them. If you didn't have £1.20 or £2.50 for a loaf of bread, you could speak to your neighbor, and society was totally different than what it is now.
Yeah. I agree.
now a lot of the people, I mean, I know my neighbors because I have lived where I live for a long time, right? But a lot of people doesn't relate with their neighbors the way it used to be.
Yeah.
So it's not like, because before in the old days,
Showing your age now.
well, no,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
I did it through COVID. It was an
No.
old lady that couldn't do her shopping and blah blah blah, and I used to do her shopping for her and making sure that she was okay. But I have known her for 15 years. But other neighbors, they just close the door, and so when you think about it, us as a society will have to take the blame from part of it.
Yeah. I agree because I remember like years ago I could knock on my neighbour's door. I could be cooking a curry, for example, and I think, shit, like the one thing I ain't got is an onion. Yeah. Instead of running to the shop, I could knock on my neighbour's door and ask for an onion. But this day and age, it's like either I'm too embarrassed to do that for some reason, or society is just not there to support. But at the same time, cost of living and all that, everyone wants to keep the onions to themselves. I just want half of an onion, please. But coming to that topic though, I just want to read some stats. I don't know if any of you have got your phones open. Any of you guys, if you don't mind typing it in the comments of just the certain stats or taking turns. So just quick, I don't want to bore you with numbers and stuff, but these stats are quite sickening and shocking. And as I say, these are the publicized stats up to 2021. So not including last year and this year, but I'm guessing they got worse. So this is across the globe. I say across the globe, 18 countries. 700,000 die each year due to suicide globally. Suicide is the fourth leading cause of death globally. UK numbers next. 74% of suicides in 2021 were male. So that shows a bit of the stigma of the men being proud and too ashamed to talk. I'm not saying women don't go through that, but it's just those numbers are quite sickening. 61% of adults with mental health conditions don't seek support or go for treatment. 61% of us in society refusing or not go or too scared. And the reason next number, 9 out of 10 people say that stigma and discrimination have a negative effect on their lives and for them to go and seek support. So that comes up with stigma and discriminating because they've got a mental health illness. 9 out of 10, that's fucking strong. 25% of people in England, which is approximately 14.1 million, these are adults, said they feel lonely. And this was just in a year. This is just in 1 year. So 14.1 million of us have said we feel lonely, which I don't think anyone should feel lonely. 1 in 5 people in the UK, approximately 11.2 million, have suicidal thoughts. So that's 11 million, over 11 million. 11 million? Yeah, over 11 million of us have suicidal thoughts. Approximately 4 million of those self-harm. So out of the 11 million, 4 million of them self-harm. And approximately out of the 11 million, approximately 3.7 million attempt suicide. So it don't. When they say attempt, I'm guessing that doesn't mean it worked, but they've attempted suicide. That's each year 3.7 million of us Brits, and this is UK, and I apologise those who are not in the UK. There are some like American stats coming up, but 3.7 million of us attempt suicide in the UK. Like, fuck me. When my French, but when are we going to wake up? And when is the world where we're going to wake up and think, look at that figure, 3.7 million a year attempt suicide. There'll become a time where it'd be 3.7 million have committed suicide. Like,
Kieran,
crazy. Yeah.
Can I point out something? When they say the amount of people that they say of self-harm, yes, it's only the self-harm that they do, like cutting and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
They don't count the people that overeat or the people that doesn't eat or the people that drinks too much. they don't count all of those little pockets of people, which actually they should count them as well, because that's
No, I agree.
self-harm as well.
Yeah, I agree. But self-harm, like you say, it's having those eating disorders, refusing to eat because of worrying about what they look like, and so much more. Sorry, I'm like, so yeah, that was just more base of self-harming, of cutting wrists and stuff like that. But that's just that alone, 4 million. 4 million of us are self-harming. But like you say, self-harming under that stats isn't including the refusing to eat, starvation and stuff like that. Few more stats. 45.8 million UK adults report experience mental health problems or illness. 45.8 million. The population is, what is it, 60 odd million? If my maths are right, 61% of adults with mental health don't access support or treatment due to experience of stigma and discrimination. 20% of people in the UK have suicidal thoughts. 300,000 people with mental health problems lose their jobs a year. So there's 300,000 of us, because we might. And when we say mental health, well, I need to clarify, this could be just suffering with anxiety, or depression, and we are losing our jobs. Yeah. So all this bullshit, what we listen to on the TV and saying, and all these companies out there, I've worked for a big company before, and it's just a tick box. Yeah, it's a tick box to say, we support mental health, but when you go through mental health, they don't support. Majority of them don't support that.
But they have, these companies, this new thing that came out through COVID of mental health first aiders. I'm really sorry, but for me, it's a total joke, right?
Yeah, it's a joke.
Because the people that was mental health first aiders in the company I used to work with, and it was really big, right? They did a 24-hour training. What can you learn in 24 hours to help anyone if they are going through anything on mental health?
To be fair, though, I agree. But even in the big company I work for, and I mean, this company is big, and this was a 2-hour session, and all it is a tick box. It's a tick box. You sit there, and it's a tick box, and it's just a tick box to say we support mental health, blah blah. We got 10,000. That's really exaggerating. 1,000 mental health first aiders. Those mental health first aiders, sorry, they ain't got a clue either.
Yeah, but the thing is, the proper mental health first aider training, that's the one I did through Unmind or whatever it's called, right? It took me 200 hours, CPD hours, right? And then after that, I have like a multiple choice exam. So they ask you the questions and you either answer, goodbye, I'll see you later. That is the proper thing. No sitting down looking at some.
I agree and disagree in a way, but I agree that there's some amazing people like yourself who's gone through so much training and stuff. And like Kari, who's gone through her coaching career of studying and whatever. And many other people I know and I've met on this journey, gone through a lot of studying, exams and stuff to know. But I think also the likes of, I'm just going to talk on my behalf here. I've not sat hundreds of hours of exams of mental health stuff. I've done day courses. I've done my own research, my own study and my own stuff. Right. I just think with someone, I think sometimes it takes of not having that stigma about you, first of all, and also the willingness to learn from others and listen to others, to educate yourself. So for me, for example, I love listening to you three, listening to our guests, because I take it away and I educate myself a bit more.
But I wasn't speaking.
Oh no!
Companies, you know what I mean?
No. Oh no, that's totally wrong. But I'm just saying. But even in those, but there are people, professionals out there, and I apologise. There are people in Oxley's near me, for example. who shouldn't even be in there, working there. Like I think, and they've probably had so much training. Like I think it swings and roundabouts. But I agree with the big companies. I think they need to pull their finger out a bit more, and it should be number one on the training course of when you get the job. We train you of how to cope and suggest that 300,000 people shouldn't lose their jobs next year because 300,000 people are going to feel supported. That's what it should be, but I don't think it's ever going to be. Like 71% of people would worry about even telling their employer that I'm struggling to, like, because of the stigma, scared to lose a job, etc. There's a couple more stats I want to throw out there from the women's side and children. So 20, this is globally, 24% of women around the world report of having postnatal depression without getting support. So 24% of women, that's a lot of percentage globally. 24% of women who are going, why am I going all dark? Women report of having postnatal depression. I don't get no support. That's quite disgusting, if I'm honest, because obviously Lee, for example, your wife story, if you want to just quickly take a minute to talk about what she went through,
so she went through postnatal depression twice, so with both children. The first time she didn't recognise it, and it took months, really. It took about 14 months to get the help properly. And then the second time, she recognised it after a couple of days, but it still took 6 to 7 months. So she spent, with our second child, she spent 12 weeks away from the home because she couldn't, even though she knew she had it, she couldn't bring herself to be around the children, which then obviously didn't put a lot of strain on me because I became mum and dad for 3 months. I virtually lost my original job over it because technically they couldn't fire me over that. They had to say they were supporting me, but they waited till I returned. And the first time I was ill, it was like, you've had too much illness, we have to get rid of you type thing. I knew it was through the postnatal depression stuff, but they wouldn't officially say that because then they left themselves open. So it was obvious why. And that was a career that I had for 10 years, and it was a school I'd worked in for 10 years, which then obviously, on my side of things, caused a lot of resentment because I understood my wife was ill, but because she didn't get the right support, there was a bit of resentment because I'd missed out on a career that I was trying to build, and now I tried to build for 10 years.
No, I get that. I totally get that.
About the help and support, so it was a very difficult time.
It angers me a bit, quite a lot. And ladies, like, I don't know if you obviously used to have kids. Have you gone through postnatal depression?
Yeah, I mean, when I have my son, I mean, I have always have how you call it in English? My brain is always gone to the depressive side. Yes, always. I go like an imbalance, and I always go more to the depression side or whatever. And after I had my son, because I was already working for the NHS, after I had my son, I spoke to a couple of people and I got the help. But yet again, it's because I knew certain people that I could speak with and whatever, and I got the help. And they just gave me, they gave me Prozac. And that's it. You know, it's like, take this, it's going to make you feel better or what have you, right? But it's made me think a lot of times, right? I did have my parents here, but my parents left after a while. If I hadn't known the people that I knew, and I haven't been given that medication and that help when I needed it then, and I have to wait like your wife, 6, 7 months, 14 months, and I'm here by myself in this country, how do I handle it? You know, it's like, I'm so glad that your wife had you, because if she was by herself, then what happens with this country is that you end up losing your children because they are not fast enough to deal with the problem. And by the, because a lot of women get postnatal depression, they do not know that they have postnatal depression, and they do such an amount of things that they don't realize half of the time what they are doing, because a lot of women that go through postnatal depression start drinking and stuff like that, right? So if you have your partner can support you, or you have a support system or your family or what have you, But at the end of the day, if social services or whatever in the old days saw that, you will lose your children.
But I also think people don't realise the long-term effect because once you have it, you're more likely to have it again. And then we went through it a second time. It now puts me off having another child. So she's desperate to have another child, and it causes clashes sometimes. And like we're 15 and 11 years on, so everything's settled down because I'm scared of going through that again because I don't know if I can do it a third time, and there's no guarantee that it won't happen. So we clash about extending our family because she's desperate and I don't want to because I can't do it. I can't do it another time. I've done it twice and it almost broke me. So it can, some months it can cause a lot of tension in the house because I physically can't put myself through that again because I have to be in the support network.
Lee, can I just say, can I say, listen, if you ever go through that time or period of arguing over whatever, call me. I'll send 2 of my kids over to you. You can have them. You can have them. At least you can give them back. If your missus feels down of seeing new kids around, you can just give them back. I'm happy to send the twins anytime. Just let me know. I'll even pay for the cab. But Kari, what about you? What about you? Have you ever been through it or?
No, I don't think so. I think I probably went through phases of, am I a good mum? Am I going to be able to do this? All of that sort of stuff. I wouldn't say I had postnatal depression in any way. But I think when you're a new mum as well, I think just generally there's quite a lot of pressure on you. And I think people always think, oh, you've got this baby. Oh, well, how fantastic. Like, how possibly could you feel shit about this? Like, this is your child. Like, how can you not feel bonded with them and all of that sort of stuff? I think people just assume that maternal instinct just comes out straight away. And to be honest, even without postnatal depression, that doesn't always happen. It doesn't mean to say you've got postnatal depression, but because the expectations out there of you supposedly supposed to be in this loving mum instantly, when you're not like that in itself is like a hard thing to deal with. And then it's like you say, bonding, and especially if you've got postnatal depression and you're not getting seen for months and months on end, all that time you're not being seen, you're not bonding with that child, exactly. And that is quite hard once you kind of get to a point of, a long period of time that's gone. I can imagine that must be really hard to then get it back. Obviously, everyone would get it back once they start to feel better and all that sort of stuff. But I can imagine it for both the baby and for the parent, because instinctively the baby will automatically want to be with the mum. If there's that distance, then I can imagine that would be quite hard for a baby as well. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And without that support,
those first months, the first 3-4 months of a baby's life, are the most important ones for the mother and the child to create a connection. And that is where the help should be, and more. When I'm really angry about what happened to your wife is because if it happened with the first baby, there is, I think it's 50-60% possibility that happens with the second one, right? So why was nothing put in place in case it happens again? That makes me really angry, because those are things that should be put in place.
Exactly. And the next step, I know, and it might not sound much, but I think I believe it's a lot. So obviously 24% of women around the world don't get support with postnatal depression. 7% of them take their own lives because of postnatal depression, and that's worldwide.
That's a lot.
That for me, that's fucking too much. Like 1%'s too much. It's just, and like you said, like Patricia says, and Kari, I think you've all said it, is that from the start, it's the most important bit. It's because that's when the mum is going to feel that postnatal depression or some kind of disconnect or whatever, and that's when the bond is so important. And if they're not getting the support, then it's just, for me, a lot of ladies come round and get there, but but
But a
some
lot
ladies,
don't.
but a lot don't, and then it's too late, and it's just a bit.
The thing
Go on.
is that, you know, like I say, you grow this baby in your belly for 9 months, and you get that bond automatically, I believe, from the moment you find out that you're pregnant, because it's there, it's inside you, it's growing there, you know, and as it gets bigger, obviously you feel it moving and all of those sorts of things. So you've got kind of like an idealistic version of what you will be as a mum, and we all think how maternal we are and all of that sort of stuff. So then when it happens and then you don't feel like that, you just feel like a failure if you're not, you know, matching up to your own expectations, but also the expectations of your family, your friends, you know, the wider community, all of that sort of stuff, you know.
It's just crazy. Like, these stats are crazy. And just the last couple finish on with children, especially. So I think I spoke to you there. So at least 5 children in a class of 30 are likely to have mental health problems, issues, illness, whatever you want to call it. 5 out of 30 children.
It's a lot.
That's too much. One's too much, but 5. Like, it's just like I look at my daughter's class. There's 30 of them. So are they saying there's 5 of them? And when we're saying that mental health, it could be anxiety, depression, abuse. Who knows? Trauma, or bipolar, or whatever it is. And then we go even deeper. Children aged 5 to 16. So aged 5 to 16 are likely to go through a mental health problem. So all kids aged 5 to 16 are likely to go through some kind of mental health problem. And then to finish this off, which is more disgusting, which I support the NHS, etc. But then this stat is disgusting. 52% of 17 to 23-year-olds go through mental health problem. 34% of them who get referred to NHS get refused support and treatment. And this is when we start seeing children committing suicide, or children's life. And I'm sorry, it's children's lives. If we don't deal with it early, it's fucking too late. Like, I have to look at. I'm going to use myself as an example, so I don't want to use anyone else. I believe if I knew who to talk to, knew what support to go to, if I had my family who would support me of shit I went through, the upbringing, the bullshit lies and stuff like that, I believe I'll be a completely different man. I'll be better than what I've been over the years. And it's like, I wish no child to go through that through anything. And I think we as society need to be. We can't expect NHS medias, fucking governments, councils and stuff. We need to stop worrying about them. We can make a difference. We should be making a difference. But as we're on children,
what you say about the children, right? Well, I don't know if I have ever said to you what has happened to my son. Yeah. My son has been emotionally abused by his father all his life. Yeah, like I was. And I never saw it because I thought it was happening to me. And my son, when he was little, we were told that he was, you know, autistic, blah, 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 but he's always been quite clever, quite whatever, so I never dealt with it, right? Well, when I was going through my last bout of the domestic abuse, my son went to live with his father. My sons and I started to see, because I saw him a lot, but I started to see that things weren't right. And I was speaking to the school was doing nothing. When my son came back to live with me, his father started to send emails to my son telling him how he wanted for him to die. Right? He was emailing him, and this is one of the worst ones, right? He wants for an 80-ton lorry to kill him, beheaded him, and while he is beheaded and dying through his neck, he's going to be sitting on his neck laughing. I sent this to the school, plus other ones, yeah. I sent when he had. I showed them to the GP, everything else, and they said that because I was strong, I could help my son. How do you handle that?
That's the trouble, isn't it? There's just not enough stuff out there, is there, for people? People just aren't educated enough, are they, in how to deal with that kind of thing? And the
thing is, my son is going to be seen by CAMS now because his autism wasn't put on the referral. Because if he had been put on the referral, he would not have been seen, right? But all of this happened 18 months ago. My son has been carrying this on his shoulders for 18 months, plus everything else that is happening now. Plus his chronic disease, pain disease, plus everything else. And the doctors think because your mother is strong enough, she can deal with it. I contact the local authority. I contact everybody else. No one has helped. But it makes me wonder. If I know people and I have contacts and I cannot make it happen, what happens to the people that doesn't?
Exactly, and this is the scariest thing, Patricia. Yeah, and this is the scariest thing. Not just the ones that it doesn't, but even those like your son. It's like, it just fucking angers me, man. We come back to this conversation at the end because it brings up the last topic, if that's okay. But I wanted to get you, Patricia and Lee, to discuss obviously the schools, the system of the school and the next topic of the disabilities, of waiting times and stuff like that. So if Lee, if you want to start with the next topic, mate.
Yeah, so obviously I work in education and I'm going to give my point of view with my teacher hat on. So there might be things said that people don't agree with, but it's good to get both sides of the coin because...
So you play bad cop, Patricia, you play good cop.
Let's
go.
Not relating back to Patricia's personal situation, but the first point a lot of people say, well, I told the school. But in a way, what do you want the school to do in a way? Because schools are not trained professionals. Schools are educators. So all we do, we've got systems that we've got to follow where we have to log it, send it off to the right people, but they have to then pick it up. So then it's because of the schools are the first point of call, it's them that get it in the ear that nothing's happening. But all schools can really do is log it on the systems they've got to log and make sure the emails and the referrals get off to the right professionals. It's down to the professionals then to pick it up, and it's down to them to then deal with the situation because educators are not specially trained in that field. And then on another thing, a lot of people will say that the schools ain't doing enough. But there is a mandatory health education curriculum, and the aim of that, our pupils are taught how to recognise the early signs of mental health, wellbeing concerns, including common types of mental health illnesses, where and how to seek support, whom they should speak to in schools if they are worried about their own or someone else's mental health wellbeing. So the mental health wellbeing modules are aimed to help schools understand what they should teach, improve the confidence in delivering mental health well-being, and encourage children and young people to have conversations about mental health. So that's the guidance from the government that schools need to implement into schools. So that's through the RSHE, so the Relationship, Health and Sexual Education. That happens on a day-to-day basis. So there's assemblies, year sevens are taught about consent and stuff like that, anxieties, what to do and stuff like that. And then also you still get backlash from parents on that side of things because it's, why are you telling my 11-year-old about consent? Why are you telling my... So it's, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Do you see what I mean? On that side of things.
Maybe you are in the best school or the whole of the borough, right? Of London. Because, I mean, I must say, Ofsted put my son's school the worst of the worst, right? So I have very bad luck with the school that my son was going to, right? I'm not saying that all schools are like that, right? But the problem that we have is that the schools has the curriculum, but the academy's curriculum is slightly different. That's where the problem lies. Because when I said that I contact the school, I didn't just send an email to the school. I just spoke to the safeguarding team of the school, because that's a safeguarding issue for my son, right? My son has already got his condition and he's got certain things in place for when he goes to school or not. But they needed to know that the anxiety level and the mental health level of my son, it was depleting. The mental health of my son was depleting because of the circumstances, right? I inform the safeguarding team. I inform the Senko team, because that's what you, as a parent, should be doing. Yeah? Well, they tell me that they can only refer 2 kids a year. So because they can only refer 2 kids a year, and they have already referred 2 kids a year, tough luck. That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying, that the system is wrong. Because on top of that, afterwards, they tried to call me about something that had happened in the school, because I didn't send my son to school. So they wanted to check why I haven't sent him to school. And I said, well, I don't want him out there, right? They tried to call me, but I was doing training with social services. They called his father, who actually, they have been told by Marak, take him off the records, yeah? They called his father and they told him everything we have said. So we have to move out of our house. You know what I mean? So the schools, it's not all the schools, but the actual safeguarding teams and Senko teams are not being trained for the real world. And we live in a world where they have to be trained much more than they were trained 20 years ago. And that is where my issue is. It's not about the training that they get. It's about certain teams have to have their training much, much higher than what they have to be able to deal with certain things. And if they can't, they say, I cannot deal with this. Let me find someone that can.
But that's when it's a government issue. No, I was going to say, but that's when it's a government issue, because we can only get the training that's on offer. So, like, in 2 weeks' time, I'm doing restorative training and resilience training. That's what's been offered to me, so that's what I've accepted. But because as a parent, if I tried, so I'm a level 4 counsellor, so I'm not got master's degree, so I've got basic knowledge and stuff. But if I tried to counsel your child and gave them the completely wrong information and they went and harmed themselves or whatever, you as a parent would be fuming. But I've tried my best in a way, so it's better that the procedures are in place for what I can do on a day-to-day basis, that if there's a concern, I've got to log it on a certain system, it goes to one person, that person then needs to pass it on. That's the best I can do at the position I'm at in my role each day. So that's where sometimes it's easy as a parent, and I've done it myself with my kids' school. When I've got my parent hat on, well, the school needs to deal with that. Well, no, the schools are not trained professionals. The professionals need to deal with that.
Yeah,
and
but on the other hand,
the ones that need to pick it up.
I have created a program, right, to go into the schools and teach the schools for free. I don't want to charge, because the way I see it is, if I can teach them how to make things better, then the kids of the next generation are going to be better. I don't want to charge them, but I have created a program in where I will be teaching the teachers, the safeguarding teams, the Senko teams, what to look for, which are the right questions to ask. And I'm trained on all of this. I'm a person that is trained on all of this. So someone that is trained can tell you what to look for, so then you can send them to the right place. Because it's a lot of places that the schools don't know that they exist, where you can refer the kids, and you don't have to just refer to a year. You can refer to 100.
No, I agree, but on the other hand, as I say with the bad cop head, it's not my job in a way to know 200 places to refer people to. It's my job to know which person within the school that I should refer the issue I see in front of me.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you're going to refer them to 200 people, but the Senko team,
exactly,
Senko team in the school should know that all of these things exist, and they don't.
And if they don't, that's a government issue, because the government need to pass them resources down. It's not a school issue, but the parents blame it at school level. So it starts from the bottom to work up. It needs to be complained at the top to then filter down.
So you are telling me that when they do their job, they are not doing 100% for their job. Because if I'm doing a Senko job,
time out.
Lee's getting punched.
I will be having, by default, I mean,
Kari, round two.
Shut up.
Kari, walk in the kitchen with the ball.
Whatever. But the stuff that I do, I always look the best way to help the child. And
Exactly.
sometimes you have to Google stuff. And I tell you something, you only have to actually send an email to the local authority and they send you the whole list. And in that list is my name, right? That's what I'm saying. That there is a lot of things that just going a little bit above the little line that they put themselves into, it can, and I'm not saying it's all schools, because there are schools that they're really good. And that I must say as well, right? There are schools that they go above board. But there are other schools that they do the bare minimum that they have to do, and they don't do no more than that. That for me is not good enough.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but that mental health is one side of things. You've then got to educate a young person. You've then got, so a school's responsible for loads of different things. So, but the priority is, unfortunately, because the education system's rubbish as a whole, but the main point of a school is to get a child through their education, to get the qualifications they need to move forward. The other things come in board, so it's what you've got to prioritise. And for us as a group like this, obviously mental health is at our forefront. So to us, mental health's the big priority. But it's not going to be in a school setting. It's going to be a little piece of the pie that goes into the education, that goes into this needs meeting. And
Can I jump in? Can I be a fan running in raiding? I'm raiding this conversation. I'm raiding this conversation. Go on.
Do you know that there is an actual law from the government which explains about different things that could be changed around the system around a child in a school, and different things that they can be put in place so that child is studying and doing the things better within their disability, and within that it goes mental health. There is a law for that, and I can email it to you and you can take it to work.
Well, I wanted to. Can I add before Lee jumps in? Can I add though so I'm on Team Patricia at the moment. So what I'm saying is like no, it's not. Of course, like I do understand what you're saying, and the teachers get the brunt of it. I do understand that, and I do feel sorry for the teachers who get the brunt of it, etc. But the teachers have voices, yeah. So what? This is what pisses me off. Well, it pisses me off. Teachers, I apologise for this. I know exactly why you strike, etc. But why don't you teachers strike and make noise of saying there's not enough for percent, there's not enough for these children, there's not enough mental health support. You're putting us into part of the school education. Yeah, mental health should be part of the school educational pathway. And I know a lot of teachers. No, but but Lee, you say it is. It's a minuscule. Like I mean, no, but it's not. We're in 2023. Yeah, no, I understand, and I'm not dissing teach. The thing I diss teachers with, because teachers can't change rules and stuff, but teachers have voices. If enough teachers, like enough next week, will strike for pay, for better education for the children, that they need to make noise and say enough's enough, get together, enough's enough.
Can I just say one thing on that? There's not enough teachers to do that because everyone's leaving the teaching profession. That's why the strike happening.
No,
so you're not going to have the right people in place to be able to help support that. Because you're not going to have enough teachers to teach in the classroom. You're not even going to have enough teachers to teach in the classroom because everyone left teaching at COVID. No one's getting back into it. This is what the issue is. So that's why the strikes are happening.
No, and the other issue is that you have people, for example, moved from, and I can tell you, this is from my son's school.
Oh, Kari's perked up.
This is from my son's school.
Better than EastEnders, this.
The boss of the big boss of Senko in my son's school, yeah, comes from Brixton. When I went there for a meeting with him, I have to actually teach him how this Senko works within Bexley, because every bureau works different. So if you move area to work in another school, whether you learn how the local authority works before you say no, or you say, oh no, we cannot do this. Because I try to explain to him that there is a lot of things that you can do in without an EHCP as long as you have an ILP, right? And he was like, no, because the only thing I wanted was for my son to be able to be picked up from home because of his condition and be taken to school and whatever, right? And he said to me, you need an EHCP for that. And I said, in Bexley, you don't. So the next week, just to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, when I have a meeting, a Senko meeting within the local authority and all of the Senkos for all of the schools, I email the teacher and I say, are you coming to this meeting? Just to, you know what I mean? Because it's like, if they don't want to learn.
Can I just add some stats to this conversation? No. Love the debate. Keep friendly. Hope you kiss and cuddle after people. Like, yes, come on. I'll just throw some stats out there. So obviously, not in, like you said, Patricia, in different cities, different towns, different boroughs, it's all different. So, for example, in the UK, and this is what is stupid, I believe. Why there should be one rule? There's one government, one rule, right? But there's not. Yeah. So in some cities in the UK, some children are waiting up to 5 years for an ASD assessment. That's just for an ASD assessment. 5 years. So let's just add to that. Talk about that for a second. 5 years. So let's just say me. I am a 6-year-old Kieran, right? Or 7-year-old. 5 years. I'm at primary school, right? The time I eventually get that ASD assessment, I am then starting secondary school, yeah? I have basically missed a lot of primary school education because I have not got a clue how it works. I'm different. I feel different. I'm learning different work because the teachers see something. And this is what my argument back to you, Lee, is teachers are not professionals, as you say. But then why do teachers find the need to single out children in a way where while they're waiting for their assessment, we give them special work and they can sit on their own and do this special work? If they're not professionals, why are they acting like professionals in that way? In thinking they can choose how our children sit in the corner, do the work, do special work on their own. I'm not dissing teachers. I love teachers out there. I feel sorry for teachers. People don't think about their mental health. But there are teachers who take it upon them, but some teachers, and I'm not saying you, Lee, or your friends, it's upon them to say, it's happened to my daughter, right? Where it's not happening now because I kicked a fuss about it, but she has missed, she's in year 6 next year, but it's got a brain like year 3 at the moment. It's because the system has taken so long to diagnose her, but then the school was thought, okay, have gave her the card. So basically, look, my daughter Lottie can walk out of class anytime she wants. She feels under pressure. I disagree with that because that's teaching her. That's teaching her quit anytime you want, run away from it anytime, and basically you don't have to do no work when it's any kid's going to go woo, yeah. And that's what I found that she's been doing a lot. And I've said no, that stops now, right? So why teachers? Some teachers, as they're not professionals, they're just educators. As you said, Lee, not me, is they take it upon them to make those professional decisions because that is not an education. Hang on, that is not, to me, that is not an educational decision. That is a professional decision. And this is coming from someone who's got no GCSEs who knows that. So reply.
Right, so teacher, you're worried about your child's education, yeah? Because as a parent, that's one child. A teacher's responsibility is for 30 children in that lesson. That teacher hasn't got time, and this is where you need the extra resources, because how do you, someone who can't understand, and I'm not saying if it's someone with disability or not, because there's some children that are lower level that can't understand the work that's going on in the classroom. As we said earlier with other things, lessons ain't always a one glove fits all, but it's taught as a one glove fits all. We all learn differently. We've all got our own learning styles. But how can you, as one person, make sure that 30 people are getting the same information at the same time in the same room by giving out one bit of information? What is the answer?
I'm sorry. I'm talking as a primary. I'm talking.
So
My hands up. I'm talking. So let me just add this before I forget. Yeah. So as a primary school, say primary school, I'm talking as primary school here. Yeah. And I understand secondary school is so much different, but as a primary school, yeah, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying this, right? But you have the adaptability as a primary school teacher. You have most primary school classes have TAs in the class. Yeah, majority of them have a TA in there, right? So, my opinion would be you address your class as your normal lesson. Okay, this is what we're doing today. Blah 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 blah. Then you have that TA, yeah, who's there, yeah, who is a TA, is a teacher assistant, yeah, to go around to make sure for the next 10 minutes while the teacher then adjusts herself or himself and then goes and says, right, Lottie and Joe Bloggs and David Seaman and David Beckham, this is what we are this is what you are working with today. I think it's about having a bit of common sense at times in teachers not being flustered. Yeah. Oh, I know listen, I'm number one fan of supporting teachers' mental health. But if teachers choose to not talk, to not put your foot down and say enough's enough, regardless if schools are closed for a week, yeah, schools are closed. Schools are only open 2 days a week these days anyway, yeah. So another 2 days won't hurt. So why don't we sit down, teachers say enough's enough? Because I hear from teachers, and teachers are saying the same thing. Stop talking now. Let's see action. Let's see action. There's too much talking in the world. Let's do fucking action and say enough's enough. Because when things change, when we talk, the government shit themselves and do things. Look at the riots, for example. I didn't agree with the riots. People robbing TVs and shit like that. Fucking, they may change quick. They may change quick because of shit. People are burning everywhere and fucking nicking everything. They may change it. I'm not saying we go and do that. But teachers and parents stand together and say enough's enough. There's not enough. The education system's a fucking mess. It needs fixing. The government put that as your priority. The top with mental health. Fuck worrying about Titan fucking boat that drowned and imploded. Unlucky, it happened. Let's focus on this kids' education and let's focus on that. Let's not worry. I'm an Arsenal fan. Let's not worry about Arsenal spending 120 million on Declan Rice. Whoopie-doo, I'm buzzing. But why don't we talk about supporting the education system more and our children?
Lee, can I ask you a question? Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to use Kieran's example, right? Because that's something that has worried me in what he has said about taking 5 years, right? Because if those teachers, and I'm not saying that every teacher is the same, right? Because my son have had teachers that were really good, right? And really helpful and everything else. But if those teachers that see that the child has got a problem or whatever, and they put the child to one side to do some work by themselves because they are not as fast as the rest or what have you, right? Why those teachers that know so much about doing that, why they don't refer them to the early intervention team? Because that's what the early intervention team is there for, to start the ball rolling.
But you don't know if that teacher has or hasn't. Because
it's taken 5 years, it hasn't, because you have to have the permission of the father or the mother to do it. They have to send the form to the family does their part, and then the family gives the permission to be done. So obviously it hasn't been done. That's what I'm saying. If they know so much to put the child to one side, then know the rest that you have to know to refer them to the early intervention team, so the early intervention team can decide what is best for that child. A teacher shouldn't be deciding what is better for that child, but obviously a teacher has realized that child has got some kind of issue because they are putting them to one side. So you realize that child has got an issue. Why don't you take it further? About it.
Go on, Lee, respond.
If I have a child in my room that I feel is struggling or whatever, I then call our learning support unit and refer that child to learning support. Learning support then come along, pick at that child, do whatever assessment they need to do, and then that ball rolls. I don't know the next process because I'm not seeing the same children every day. So if I wanted to, I can go and check in with learning support, but I don't then get an email to say, because of your referral, X, Y, Z, B T has happened, because that's not down to me to know. That's when other things then come in. So I know I've done my bit by referring it to the right team.
I'm not speaking about you specifically, but what I'm
But
saying is
I'm just saying, so it's a day-to-day thing, because you, again, and this goes back to media as well, with the strikes, the teachers, parents are getting turned against the teachers because it's thrown out there it's all about money. It's not all about money. It's about trying to up the money to then get people to come into the profession, because the more people, like my place, 22 people are leaving in July. They think they're going to fill it over the summer. Plus, they want to add extra positions. It's not going to happen because people don't want to. But if you watch the media, it's the teachers are out next week because all they want is more money.
I just want to interrupt. We have a member wants to join this debate and conversation, so I've sent the link. So this is good.
She's coming for you.
She's coming for you, Lee. I'm leaving. But while we wait, no, listen. I just want to say though, like I love these conversations. I love these debates, and obviously, Lee, I know your parents. So nothing's personal here, etc. And I want to say to any listeners out there, Lee is just talking on behalf as a teacher in general, but he does agree with some things that we do say. But
as I said, teacher hats on, parent hats completely different.
Lee, you won't see. I just want to let our members know you won't see Lee again on the safe space between us. No. But just with a few facts quickly. So about children. So we've said about 5 years. 100. This is facts. Yeah, 130,000 are currently on the list to be seen. This is to do with being autism. Yeah, 130,000 are currently on the list to be seen, with 67,600 waiting for more than over a year, right, to be assessed for autism. By 2024, this will grow to 190,000 to be assessed. 800,000 people, this is not just kids, people are also waiting for an ADHD assessment. 800,000, short of 1 million. That is sick. And we do have a guest on, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Lisa, can you hear me? You're on mute. Hello? Lisa, can you hear me? Lisa. Lisa, can you hear me?
Hello?
So
Hello, Lisa.
Can someone comment and say, Lisa, we can't. Can you hear us? And just while people are listening, and we're live, can you? One of the members wanted to join this debate conversation. We just try. But she might have technical issues or volume issues. Can you hear us, Lisa? Nod if you can hear us.
I don't think she can. Something tells me she can't hear us.
She can't hear us.
She needs to take the microphone at the bottom down off, isn't it?
It is off. Right now it's.
Yeah.
Maybe she needs to put the volume up.
Hello, Kari, son. Lisa.
I'll tell you what, Kieran, you've opened a whole can of worms there. I nearly got my popcorn out earlier.
Hey, son, bring some popcorn.
Yeah, but so someone has commented.
She
can't hear.
No.
So, someone has commented here that previously the local authority had more control, but since the schools have become academies, it's a mismanagement of control, and all of the resources, and that's actually part of the bigger problem.
Oh, hi! I couldn't.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I couldn't hear anybody. I can hear you guys now.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the safe space between us. You're right. So, Lisa, jump in. What do you want to say about the conversation we've been having? Rip Lee apart. All do you want?
Hang on. With regards to kids in school, let me just say I'm 48 years old now, nearly 49, suffered mental health issues all my life. But to cut a long story short, at the age of 9, 10, I was expelled from primary school because I was considered a naughty kid. Yeah? Because I couldn't sit at a table and concentrate, and because I couldn't read, and because I couldn't write. Yeah? And because they considered me a disruption to the class.
Mhm.
Okay? And it wasn't because I was a naughty kid, because I got sent to a boarding school, which was for naughty kids, and I had assessments and everything done later, and
XD.
not, hang on, but not for a long time. It was only this time last year I did tests and had tests done privately, and I got diagnosed with autism, ASDA, ADHD, and so therefore I wasn't a naughty kid, as that teacher tried to say that about people filling out forms and stuff. Back in the days, autism, ADHD, and things like that wasn't a diagnosis. So if you played up in class or couldn't behave because you couldn't understand, and on top of that being profoundly deaf as well, you get me? So
No, I
I
agree.
wasn't given no help or support from any teacher in school.
N-
You get me? I had to pay for all these private tests by myself because I wasn't tested as a child, and I had, as an adult, these things are not available on the NHS. So I've had to
so-
go through everything to get diagnosis myself. On top of that, my mental health is due to when I was 21 years old, my brother was stabbed to death right in front of me. My 20-year-old brother. He died in my arms. I was covered in blood, went through a 2-year trial at the Old Bailey. So
No, I'm sorry
please.
about that, and I do hear you. Like, and firstly, I want to apologise or say sorry that you had to go private. Like, this is what's fucked up with the world, and I'm sorry, listeners out there. This is what my argument is all the time. This lady, for example, is just one of many millions out there. But Lisa, I take my hat off to you, and so do these guys, to come on here to say what you've just said. It takes a lot of courage and guts. So well done. I'm very proud of you for saying that. But it's
You
just,
should be really proud of yourself. You should
it's
be
just.
so
But
proud of yourself.
I just want to
Thank
say,
you.
it just shows a lot of. Lisa's just one of many, though. It's just that she's gone through that from a school life that the teacher has, and I've seen it. It's happened to me. It's happened to my son, where because we don't understand the work, we're disruptive. We're disruptive. You're on
Yeah,
report. You're kicked out of school.
yeah,
That has fucked up our lives. Yeah, not our whole life. This is a major impact on our lives, on people's lives, of because of that decision of saying we're disruptive when we're just frustrated that listen, because you're not understanding me, that I don't understand the work. I'm not being lazy because, for example, my son got in trouble for leaving his page blank, and then the teacher said to him in front of the whole class, "Oh, here's your special work." Like, I said to my son, "Why didn't you smack the teacher?" And I'm sorry to any listener out there, if you're going to disrespect a child like that, and then we want to cry about that children are being scumbags and stuff like that. Yes, some children are being idiots, but some children are being disrespected by the system. Hence, why
Yeah.
some children go the other way. Um, and it's just
exactly.
really.
And you know the thing, yeah, it's not even just that. I grew up in the care system from the age of 9 because my mum was how can I put it? My mum was diagnosed with psychosis and was addicted to prescribed medication from the doctors. So I was taken into the care system at the age of 9. I've probably been in, from the age of 9 to 13, I've probably been in more than 200 care homes, probably more than 50 foster families' houses. Never knew where I was going to be from one week to the next. never unpacked my bag because there was no point, because I was never there for longer than a week. And on top of that, having to go through physical and sexual abuse as well from a family member. So, you know, I think, to be honest, I've come through it on the other side. I've got 5 beautiful kids. I love them so much. They are so supportive that there's not nothing that they don't know about my past. I've got 7 beautiful grandkids now. My oldest is 5 and my youngest is 10 days old. And
Got a lovely gardener.
I suffer social anxiety, so I don't go nowhere. I haven't been nowhere in 3 years. But you know what? On Sunday, I took my grandkids to the beach. They keep asking me, Nanny, take us out and do something. And I actually did, with the support of my husband, and who you've met, Kai, when you did my garden, and my 2 daughters. I did it.
No,
I
what
didn't
would
think I'd be able to do it because I normally suffer panic attacks, etc. Don't get me wrong, when I first set out, I was panicking, but I managed to control it. And my grandkids just holding my hands, walking, you know, towards the train station, along the beach, just gave me that confidence to be able to do it. And I managed to leave out the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't get back till 9 o'clock in the evening. How good is that?
No,
That's really,
good.
really good. And I did tell you the day after, I am so proud of you, you know, because you went and did it.
Yeah, Lisa, we're not just saying it. We are utterly proud of.
I do feel it.
And
because I know what you are going through. I do suffer with PTSD, but I was for a time that I couldn't leave the house. I know how hard it is, and for you to do it, and not just do it, smash it out of the park, girl. You know, that is really good.
Thank you so much, hon.
Lisa, what I want to do for you, and I don't know what it will be, I'm going to talk to the team after off air, just to celebrate that. I'm going to send you something to celebrate that on behalf of us. It might not be nothing life changing, but it'd be something to be proud of yourself. So. I personally will drop it off. No. I want to do it.
We want to.
No, I want to do it because this is what a safe space. No, and this is what a safe space between us is about. It's hearing these stories of. Firstly, I want to congratulate you and say how amazing you are to go through all that. Like you said, you've been in and out of 50 different foster cares. They're not unpacking your bag, going through sexual abuse. Going into foster care, going through that at school, only being diagnosed because you went private last year, and through so much other shit, and then finally going out the other week or last week. Like, you are exactly why we do this. Yeah, it's because there are people like you and people who may not even got out of their house yet, who need to hear the likes of yourself.
Yes.
And I promise you, on my children's life, I will not do another podcast for the next week, right? And I'm going to keep sharing this podcast with you on this. You will inspire someone out there 1,000,000,000% to make a change in their life. So I want to say thank you so much. And you should be so fucking proud of yourself. And again, I done Lisa's garden. I'd never met Lisa there. I met her bloke.
And
a bloke was.
Kai, I'd like to apologise for that. That's my social anxiety.
No, you don't need to apologise.
It's not nothing to do with you personally. I
thought I smelled. No, I'm joking.
You do, by the way.
No, so me and Lottie, me and my daughter Lottie. So Lottie, who I've been talking about with, who's been at school, and I've kicked off about how she's been singled out by teachers, and I'm not saying the teachers been mean about it, and maybe it's been because it's the easy answer so they can focus on other 29 children. But I'm really sorry to say, as a parent with a parent hat on, I only give a shit about my child. Yeah, at that moment. Obviously, in a safe space between us, I care about everyone. But at that moment, if my child's getting singled out, I don't care what the 29 other kids are worrying about, thinking about. What about my child's future and education? And
Oh,
again,
definitely.
many people like Lisa, many people around the world, around the country, locally, have clearly going through this, and it takes guts. And this is what I'm saying. Please, people, if you, I'm gonna, or not me, Lee is gonna Lee, the naughty teacher, is gonna make clips of this, right? And the clips we share with Lisa on, please take a moment to realise how inspiring, and if Lisa can come on here and say what she just said, and again, she has not met Lee, Kari, Patricia, only
Hello,
spoken to me on Facebook, only spoken to me on Facebook. And again, a bloke was really lovely, kept on offering us drinks and ice poles, plus he's an Arsenal fan, ticked all the boxes.
You and your stupid Arsenal. Enough now with the bloody Arsenal.
But no,
Well,
I
by
deep
the
down
way,
want to
I'm not
say,
an Arsenal fan. I'm a Liverpool fan.
Go
well,
girl.
on that note, Lisa, I can't hear you. It's okay.
Why
I
noise?
thought you'd say that.
No,
No,
but
but before,
listen, Lisa, you should be ever so proud of yourself after everything you have gone through, right? You are one strong lady.
Thank
You
you.
are a really strong lady. And think it this way, Sunday was only the first time that you have gone out and done it. You are going to do it again and again and again.
I
Because
hope
you
so.
can do it. You
you
can
will
do
do.
it.
You
I
can
hope
do
so.
it. You
You
will
can
do
do
it.
it.
We've got another day trip planned for the 24th of July, so fingers crossed all
You
will
got
go
this.
good.
Well,
You will do it.
please do share with us like how it gets on, or even come back on after that day and talk about it. We'll celebrate it again. Or and
I
even if
will do.
leading, if leading up to it you feel anxious or whatever, please message me or message any of us. Yeah, and we can
I
try
will
and
do.
give you a kick out that door. Or I'll come and
No,
drag you out the door. No, I'm joking.
the day before she went out, we kept messaging. You remember? We kept talking, and she was like,
Okay.
and I was like, "You can do it. You can do it. You are gonna do it." And then she came out and said, "I actually have done it. I just hold my grandkids, and I kept doing it." And I tell you something, I cried. It made me feel so good that you were able to do it.
Thank you.
And I will say,
this is what we are all about.
yeah, I will say, and it does hit. I've got, and I'm not just saying this. My hair's stuck up when you've been speaking. My hair's stuck up, and this is what gives me the fire a little bit more of hearing people from you, Kari Lee. Before we move on, and not to be rude,
No,
Lisa,
that's
it's
fine.
just not that's not me being rude. I feel rude. It's just that you can stay on. You can stay on. It's just the last debate about the media, and how we can make a change out of safe space between us. Kari and Lee, is there anything you would like to say to Lisa before we move to the last topic?
Yeah, I just want to say well done. I mean, that's amazing. To take that step after all those years of not wanting to go out and not, and be within the community and all of that sort of stuff, or not being able to do it. I mean, hats off to you. That literally lights my day, because I just think, what, like as Kai has already said, what an amazing inspiration that is to other people that are in similar circumstances. And well done you for coming on here as well, because obviously you've met Kieran, you haven't met all of us properly or anything, and to do that is a big step. So hats off to you. It's amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you
I just
so
want to
much,
echo the
hon.
same.
Oh,
I want to echo the same thing. That's all right. I just want to echo the same thing, especially with what you achieved on Sunday, and then coming on a live podcast as well. So congratulations, well done, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Don't say thank you to him. He's the teacher. But
I
yeah,
just want to say as well, guys, thank you so much, because I think this group is a big thing, and I think what you guys do is really good, and I just hope that my story does reach out to someone, and if it helps anybody, just that one person, I'll be grateful for that. But at the end of the day, it's down to what you guys do, setting up this whole podcast thing, and just talking about mental health and raising it, because not a lot of people realise about mental health and what it is like to go through that. And it's hard enough for women, and a lot of people associate mental health with women, but what a lot of people don't realise is it affects men as well. My 13-year-old nephew, Tyrell, Tyreek, he was 13 years old and he hung himself. And this was,
fuck.
10 years ago? So this is something else I haven't even mentioned. But, mental health affects everybody, not just women and men, but children. Like I said, my nephew was 13 years old. He was hanging for 30 minutes before he was found, so he was pronounced brain dead. And, it was really hard for my sister-in-law because it was her son. And, it was devastating at the time, but I think a lot more awareness needs to be raised when it comes to mental health, because, people think of mental health and associate mental health issues with, people having schizophrenia and people that want to hurt people. And you know what? It's not right, because that's not what mental health is about. Mental health, people have issues, they need help, they need support. A shoulder to cry on, an arm around your shoulder, someone just to listen. That's all it takes to save a life. That's all it takes. I've been there. I've tried it 3 times. And luckily I had people around me to help me and find me and take me to hospital, and I was okay. But you know what? I'd never do that again. Because you know what? To see the devastation it done to my family 3 times is not good. I can't do that to them no more. If anything, for my family, for my grandkids, and for what we speak out about every day,
Again, like, I think, guys, I don't want to move to the next topic. I think we end it on what Lisa just said, because of, that's just hit me quite a bit. And she's right, spot on everything she's just said. And again, your family should be so proud of you. I promise you, I am inspired by you. I am proud of you. You're an amazing person to come on and to just say everything you've just said, but also to state facts, what you've just said as well. Women go through it, men go through it, but children. And this is the message out there. If us adults, and I'm going to end this show tonight before I put the outro on, is if us adults cannot be kind to each other, cannot support each other, and cannot realise mental health covers so much things. Like Lisa said, it doesn't mean you're schizophrenic, it's that you're crazy or anything. It can be, you could be suffering anxiety, you could be suffering depression, you could be suffering, you could be bipolar, you could be, and when people say you've got disability, when you get diagnosed with something, it causes the anxiety and the depression and stuff like that. So it all links together. If us adults can't fix up and sort society out, we need to stop fucking worrying about medias, stop worrying about government, stop worrying about councils. They're all fucking useless. I'm sorry, I've said it, it's true. Yeah, and if you work for them, fucking whippy-do. But if they're not going to make change, we have a voice. We can stand together. I'm not saying burn roads, burn cars and stuff. We have a voice to say enough's enough. Mental health, if we cannot say to each other, Lisa, Kari, Patricia, Lee, Joe Blogs, how are you today? I'm here for you. Yeah, if we can't even do that to people and be kind, the future of our children have no fucking hope. And I'm going to end it on that. On that note, I want to say thank you so much to Lee, thank you. Kari, thank you. Patricia, thank you. And Lisa, most importantly, I want to give you a round of applause and clap. Thank you so much. On that note,
thank you.
On that note, this has been a safe space between us, and I'm sorry to end it, but I'm ending it. It's a safe space between us. I'm going to play a long intro. Guys, if you want a quick 5-minute chat after, you can wait around and have a 5. No, please wait 5 minutes. You've got 5 minutes to have a fag and a break. because this outro is 5 minutes long. So stay on if you want, and we can have a 5-minute chat off air. But thank you. This has been Safe Space Between Us. I've been your host, Kieran, and good night.
Good night.
memory of those whose pain was too deep. We gather here our promises to keep a safe space where sport will always thrive. No judgment here, only love will survive. Those we've lost, their absence we mourn. Miss they are, their memory we hold dear. Together we stand, breaking stigma's chains. The media's influence we shall not allow. In this safe space we rise above the disavowed, a united front, a society that cares, supporting one another, bearing our shares. Let kindness guide our thoughts and deeds, nurturing compassion like blossoming seeds. We vow to fight, to make their struggle right. A world where empathy reigns every single day.